For grayscale images, basically you want to make the same decisions. So I'm going to go ahead and downsample to 72 pixels per inch. For any image above 72 pixels per inch, I'm going to choose my JPEG compression. In this case, though, I'm going to actually go one step higher than I went with the image quality setting in color images. And it just has to do with the way JPEG does its work. The more color I have, the easier it is for JPEG to hide the work of the compression. And so if I want enough quality so that my customer is not going to be completely freaked out by the fact that there's compression artifacting, I can use this as a way to manage that. However, if I were using an internal process and I wanted to have as small a file as possible, then I might actually go down to medium. And I've actually used workflows where I've gone all the way to minimum compression, knowing full well that the photographs aren't going to look terribly good, but I can identify what they are, and I'm really just trying to prove that a particular photograph is in the right place in the PDF file. However you choose to set these is certainly up to you. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but you want to understand that maximum equals better looking image, bigger file. Compression, JPEG if you're using photographs, zip if you're using flat color. And if you want to get the smallest file possible, you'll want to resample the file. I always recommend bicubic downsampling over the other two options that are there, just because it tends to do a better job. Now the third option in the images panel is monochrome images. Monochrome images are things like single color logos that are still pixel-based, but they're single color logos, and they need to be treated a little bit differently. For starters, if I'm going to create the smallest file possible, I'm still going to go ahead and use bicubic downsampling to reduce the pixel resolution to 72 pixels per inch. And I'll click in for images above, anything above 72 pixels per inch. However, in a monochrome image, when I have a curve or a diagonal or something like that, by setting it to 72 pixels per inch, it's going to look very jagged. And if I'm going to proof this file and I want someone to look at it and not think, oh, this looks terrible, then I'm actually going to add back what's called anti-aliasing. And I'm going to set it to 4-bit, which is about what I tend to use. The reason that I do that is because what it will do is it will actually create a soft blur along the edge of that object. And it does just a little bit to hide that jaggedness that the downsampling is going to cause. It will add a little tiny bit to the file size, but it's worth the investment to have your customer or whoever it is that's approving this document look at it and say, oh, that looks okay, as opposed to if you turn it off, they're probably going to complain that things tend to look jagged. So in a proofing scenario, I've downsampled the monochrome image to get it as small as possible. I've added a little bit of anti-aliasing. What about compression? In this case, I'm going to use the Tac8Qt Group 4 compression, and you'll notice that that was on by default. All of the compression that I use for monochrome images is lossless or non-lossy compression, and so what we're choosing here is which one is the best one to give me the smallest file possible. If you don't know and you're not willing to do some testing to find out, frankly, I recommend Tac8Qt Group 4. It tends to do the best job of giving you the smallest file, and because it's lossless, it doesn't impact the look of the image at all, but what we're looking for is the smallest file possible. Now, before we leave this dialog box, I want to go completely in the other direction. I want to create a file that's appropriate for sending to a print vendor. I don't want to do anything with compression, and I don't want to downsample anything in the file. So I'm going to turn sampling off, which means that it's not going to change any pixel resolution at all. I'm going to turn all of the compression off in all of these situations. And turn the anti-aliasing off because I don't need it. And actually, frankly, I can leave the Tac8Qt Group 4 compression on with monochrome images because remember, it's non-lossy, so it's going to have no impact on the way the image is going to look at all. So for color images, no change. Grayscale images, no change. Monochrome images, no sampling change. This is going to be an appropriate group of settings that will not change the fidelity of any of the images at all in my PDF file, but it's going to be a huge file. In a pre-press setting, that's appropriate. In a situation where I want to send this to a friend and have them look the document over to approve it for me, this is not going to work. It's going to produce a file that may not even get through their email filtering software.